Welcome to another episode of Purchase to Profits. I'm Seth Ferguson. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our daily interviews with successful real estate investors. Our guest today is a former NASA scientist who began investing in real estate in 2016. Jerryll Noorden is CEO of Noorden Estates. Jerryll, welcome to Purchase to Profits. It's great to have you on the show.
Hey, Seth. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. I have to say, you are probably the smartest guy we've ever had come on the show.
Oh, man, you're making it bad for me.
Well, I always say, real estate isn't rocket science, but, you're a robotic scientist. So I'm sure it's, pretty close.
Yeah, challenges are everywhere, no matter what you do. You just have to step up.
For sure. So talking about real estate, what are your real estate goals right now?
So when I started first, I was with all the other beginners. It's intimidating, analysis paralysis. You don't know what to do, what to start. So of course you do what everybody else does. You listen to them. You do the same thing. I was never really in agreement. So I tried anyways because I don't know nothing, right? And things didn't go right. But since I already knew it wasn't going to work the way they did it, I already had the backup plan. So I quickly started to do my own things. And obviously it worked. And I did everything from the ground up. I started everything. I did my own analysis. I did everything on my own. And eventually, when things started working, I get more leads than I can handle. So it was very difficult because I was a one-guy team. And so my goal has always been getting a team, getting everything automated, and getting money in without me having to work the business. As you know, my goal is robotics and helping people out with my robotic systems. That takes a lot of time, a lot of energy. So eventually, I wouldn't want to be working my real estate business. I would like to have that on automatic and spend my time designing all these state-of-the-art robotic systems to help other people. So that's been my goal, and it has been a challenge, to be honest. It is, the SEO, the walkthroughs, the analysis. It's you just never trust anybody to do it as good as you can do it. So it's been very difficult to just let it go and have somebody else do it, and that is the challenge. That's the goal.
Yeah, and are you looking at scaling up your business now? Do you want to do more volume each and every year?
Yeah. So the issues that we are always getting ourselves into is we put too much detail and too much attention every flip that we do, and that way you just never step away from it. You're always busy doing that one flip, that second flip, that third flip, and so scaling up is the only way to do it. That's the only way to force yourself to get a system in place, to hire people, and to put it on automatic so that you can step away.
Yeah. No, that's so true. And it's Michael Gerber writes about that in his book, The E-Myth, how you have to take yourself out of the day-to-day operations and put yourself, so you're looking at your business as a whole. So what challenges did you encounter as you went from that single guy doing everything to starting to build a team?
So I will keep talking about SEO, right? But that's the main challenge here. So I'm a big SEO guy. Okay, and that's how I get all my leads. I don't pay for marketing. I don't pay a cent for leads other than just my website hosting. So the challenge is Google gives a set of guidelines what to do to your website for it to start ranking, right? So everybody does it, right? So you have 3 billion sites on the internet. Everybody does exactly the same thing what Google does. Why would site number 15 outrank site number 3,562, right? Yeah. So the challenge is, the way I see SEO is Google gives guidelines and everybody follows those guidelines. So everybody sees it as tasks. The way you're supposed to take SEO as take these guidelines and see them as tools. So go back to the underlying idea of why Google wants these rules, figure that out, and then figure out a way to implement the same goals your way. So in other words, bypass Google completely and design your own SEO techniques to actually genuinely please your users. Once you do that, you'll never have to be afraid of Google updates, of Google penalties, because you're doing what Google wants, right? You're genuinely giving value to your visitors. Mm-hmm. The challenge is to come up with these SEO techniques and the problem is that everybody does SEO the same way. So if you don't do it yourself, who's going to do it the same way you want to do it? So that's the challenge. So to find a team to do that for you, you have to train them. You have to walk them through the whole process, right? And then I speak about SEO, but it's not just SEO. It's about your whole company image. So a big secret, what we do when we do walkthrough, for example, is we take off our shoes. That little gesture that floors everybody that we come into contact with. So they immediately trust us. They respect us because we respect them. So these little things, right, that nobody really kind of does. You have to train people to do these things, and there are so many more of these small little things that have a big impact on your contract signing and your deal making. And to constantly work on these kind of small little things that you just cannot just say, okay, you guys do it. You just need to have somebody that has the insight to do these things. Mm-hmm. The challenge is getting that special team that works well with you. And we have several very strict guidelines, how to behave, how to present yourself, what to do. And it's been such a huge challenge. And every time we go to somebody, they always disappear because that's just simply not the way they have been used to. And it's just very difficult to get that special team together.
Yeah. And going back to that SEO, because I know lots of our viewers, they have businesses they're trying to grow in real estate. What would you say the key points in your SEO strategy are that most other people are missing?
So let me see. We do everything from scratch, right? The challenge here is to figure out SEO methods and techniques that nobody else is doing. However, that is still the guidelines to Google, and that will still give you credibility, which is really important. So people think SEO will give you deals. It's completely nonsense. SEO will get you found. If you have SEO without credibility, you will make no deals. So if I have this guy from Zimbabwe telling me, oh, give me $1 million and I'm going to give you $30 million in return, sure, his site might be in front of Google, but who's going to fall for that, right? There's zero credibility. Yeah. On the other hand, if you are very credible and you have so many reviews, you have so many pictures of flips that you have done, you have so many customers and whatnot, if nobody can find you, what does it matter? So you really have to have both. So people always think SEO as thing versus credibility. Okay, it won't work that way. You have to have both not to make deals. And often, believe it or not, these two entities, they work against each other. You either have SEO or you get credibility. You either stuff your website with keywords and you look very shady, obviously in the 80s, but whatnot. Yeah. Or you have lots of credibility, but you have zero SEO. So the compromise between the two, like saying we buy a house in Connecticut, for example, somebody this always see, right? So in their content, their website, they say, sell my house in Connecticut, call us. Nobody's going to say this, sell my house in Connecticut, right? They don't say that. They talk in language as if you were talking with somebody in front of you. And so that is a challenge to design your content, to design your image, to design your brand, to design your logo to something that actually is credible, that people, when they come to your website, they actually feel confident that you can solve their problem and that you are going to go through with it from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And obviously it worked. We are number 1, number 2, number 4 on Google. So so we got all the leads pretty much.
That's great. And
yeah.
And what routines do you have that maybe you do daily or weekly that helps keep you focused on your real estate business?
You won't believe this. Okay, so I always keep preaching this. Okay, you want to be successful, you go to the gym. That is such an impact. So I'm not sure how other people work, but for me personally, let's say you go out of a train station and you see a very sharp looking guy, very, very lean, athletic with a suit, nice hair combed, very, very neat looking, come to you and ask you for your time. You kind of feel like it's a privilege he chose you to do that. Now imagine some slob, smells dirty and whatnot with uneyered clothing comes to you. The first thing you do is like, yeah, just move along. So that is an image, right? So the first impression that you get is so that's the first impression that you get, that you give your company, and it radiates confidence. So when you come approach and you're confident, you're not shy, you know what you're talking about, it will have an immediate effect on the person you're talking to. you will become the authority in your field. So the number thing that I would advise anybody is wake up early, go to the gym, do meal prepping, whatever. Create your own image so that you're disciplined, so that you work hard, and people will follow you. People will have respect for you, and people will listen to you. So that is something very serious that we take into account.
Yeah, and it seems like everything you're talking about is your own personal brand.
Yeah.
Right. That's you talked about with your website, you have to build credibility. That's your brand, and then how you act and how you how you do things in your life are also part of that brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So exactly. So I partnered up with my partner is Jessica Roman, and she has a family. She has kids, right? So I was from a single guy, and that was before that was my strength, right? I don't have to worry about kids. I don't have to spend time with kids. I can do all SEO, 24 hours a day to SEO, right?
Yeah.
Then you become a bond, and suddenly you have a family. And what you don't realize is actually it becomes a strength. So now you are forced to plan things, to make time for other things. So you are forced to actually now set the time for the gym, set the time for walk, to set time for everything. And that forced us to actually grow, because now we are more disciplined. We can relate to people more. I was the oddity in this whole field. I was the only person probably. I was a single guy with too much time on my hand, was completely obsessed with SEO, and suddenly you've been pulled around, and suddenly you're stuck here in the stuck. You're blessed to be in the family right now, and it's amazing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I guess the lesson is, if you want to be successful in real estate, be single, and all you do is work, right?
You will always be working in it if you do that. Yeah. And that's really successful. So yeah, you need to set a plan. You need to set deadlines, and you need to get the plan going and be strict for that.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about a Keystone deal. So a deal that made a big impact in your business. I'm sure you've got one in all the deals you've done.
A very bad one. So my first flip, everybody says, right? So your first flip is going to be your education, it's going to be wrong. I was like, yeah, whatever, not me. So I did whatever it took for me to set the path straight, right? So I'm not going to slacken time. I'm going to get all the right finishes done and whatnot. What I didn't realize is sometimes failure isn't necessarily because of your doing. We hired the contractor that underbid, and that's what got into trouble. He disappeared, put liens on the place. It was a nightmare. So funny is that I didn't pay for that flip, right? So I partnered with an investor. So because I had so many deals. I had way too many deals, right? And I didn't have the money back then. So I went to Bigger Pockets, and I put an ad out, and they're saying, listen, I have many deals. Is somebody willing to pay for the house, pay for the rehab, and we split 50-50? Obviously, I got laughed at. You need to have skin in the game, this and that, right? Yeah. But I don't need everybody to accept. I just need one person to accept. So lucky for me, one person said, yeah, let's do it. So they paid for the whole thing. And so we bought this thing for $64,500. According to us, back then, the ARV is $230,000, and the rehab cost was $70,000. Well, the flip ended out to being $140,000 in rehab, double. It ended up being 9 months versus 2 months, and everything went to hell. Okay, so lucky for me, honesty is one big thing as well. Honesty and loyalty. So everybody else would have maybe most people would have just run away. I can't handle this, because I had to pay for every 0%, every cent that went over, I had to pay for. That was part of the JC. So I had to pay $70,000 out of my own pocket, knowing I had no money to finish this thing, right? And I figured, I'm gone, I'm done, game over. Just go back to the engineering and science, whatever, and pay for my huge credit card bill. So I kept the work going. I did as best as I could, and when we were done, I was minus $90,000. We sold this house for $330,000. So it was way more than we expected. It was $100,000 more than we expected. So even though I was still negative, because according to the JV, he would get all the profits, and I was negative because I had way over budget. So I didn't make any money. I was $10,000 negative, but he made $80,000. So that reinforced my relationship with him. He trusted me a lot more, and we did way more flips. And that's how I started. It's hard to start when you have no money, right?
Yeah.
So what I learned is, oh my gosh, don't think things for granted. Always have a backup plan. And make sure you check everything. The contractors, when the contractor tells you, oh yeah, I have references, check them. I didn't check them. I just said he gave me references, so must be good, right? Check them. Most of the time, the references that he gives, it's not going to give you bad references, right? So you have to just make sure you check them, and that was a lesson learned. So we never again took things for granted, and we never just said, yeah, okay, whatever. We double check everything.
Yeah.
And we several times we got saved because of that. Some big underlying issue with the house that we got discovered because of that. So that was my education. It's expensive education though.
Oh, for sure. But I think, you did the right thing in paying out of your own pocket, because that gave you credibility, that built the trust between you two. And your first deal is always the hardest one to get started. And that gave you a track record for the next one and the next one and the next one.
Yeah. So now we're doing many deals with this guy. So thanks to that first deal that I completely messed up. So it turned out to be a good thing.
Yeah. And I think that's a good example of, you were going into that first deal, you didn't have any systems in place, you didn't have any checklists, and that deal, because of what happened, it forced you to start having those lists and those systems.
Yeah. I was completely winging it. Yeah.
Well, that's great. So how many deals do you think you've done so far?
So we put a stop on that since that 9 months. We started with wholesaling. Mm-hmm. And so we are really good at wholesaling. And even though I don't like wholesaling at all, sadly, we're really good at it. So the first wholesale deal was like my first direct mail marketing campaign while I was building on my website. I made like $14,000 in like 2-3 days. The second one was like $20,000. The third one was, I believe, like that was $9,000. And we went on and on. So we made something like 6 wholesale deals before we started to flipping. So I want to flip as soon as possible because I do not like wholesaling. So we immediately started flipping. That flip then lasted 9 months, like I said. And now after that one sold last year, 2 years ago, we did 3 more flips, and now we're doing 3 at a time.
That's great.
Yeah.
And what changes have you had to make in your business to go from doing 1 flip at a time to 3? Because there's a lot more work, a lot more stuff you have to deal with.
Yeah. So until recently, again, I was still this one person team, right? So I got I got a team together. Basically, my partner then now handles everything when it comes to pretty much everything in the business. I just handle SEO and lead generation. And then I have a wholesaler that we kind of get the contract signed. We just ship it up to them. So what changed is so I have a dedicated person to handle a certain task. So I don't have to worry about it. I have not found anybody that does the SEO the way I like it. So I'm still stuck doing that. But all the walkthroughs, all the wholesaling, all the negotiating, that is now taken care of. I don't have to worry about. So that was a big step into getting 3 or 4 deals at the same time.
Yeah. And now you've gone from working yourself to running a business.
Yeah. So that's fun, right? So I'm doing the things that I find fun. Like, for example, let me give an example. So I did a small change in my SEO, a small change, and not even my website. I made a post. Okay, when Google trusts you, you have a knowledge graph, right? So when you type in Viva House in Connecticut, you'll see, well, my first, second list is what not, but on the right hand side, you'll see my whole business on the right hand side, right? So I put one little post in there, and at this time I changed the color, just the color. Our leads that day quadrupled.
Wow!
Just because of that small little post. And that kind of stuff is fun. So you experiment, you come up with a new idea, and it works. So then, of course, everybody's now high alert, follow out through all the teams, follow through all the leads and whatnot, and get deals signed. And we just now signed 3 more contracts. So just because of that little color thing, just a color change got me 3 more contracts. That's crazy.
That's great. Yeah. So how has getting into real estate changed your life?
So I had been in the same life. I can't complain. So I was an eternal student. I studied for, 15 years or so. Keep in mind, in return, I had 5 degrees. And so I went from studying, being a student, to all college, all fun and games. I went to IHMC, that's Institute for Human and Machine Cognition. So they integrate machine systems with human abilities. So to have pilots go have faster reactions, all that kind of things, right? So the NASA heard wind of what we were doing. We were building exoskeletons for paraplegic NASA saw what we were doing, they could use the technology because up in space, whatever, you have no gravity, so you have bone and muscle mass loss. So I jumped to NASA. Very interesting, very fun. A lot of things I can talk about here and not. But then I had a choice to make, right? So NASA lost funding for hardware, so I was doing hardware, and so I either could do. I could go to Italy to do more robotic stuff. I could go to Connecticut. I was in Florida back then to do corporate stuff. So I never worked for a corporate company before. So I decided to go to Italy and live along, have more fun, because once you do corporate stuff, I think I would have no more time, whatnot.
Yeah.
And for Italy, it was all just amazing. It was fun and whatnot. But then again, I thought, you know what, I can't. Here's what changed my life. Okay. In Italy, when you're in Italy, you can buy a ticket for about 5 to 10 euros to go to Germany, England, all these places, right? It's crazy. So what I did is I went every weekend. I bought a ticket just to go to a restaurant and eat their local food. So I went to Spain and ate paella. I flew back that same night. I went to London and ate fish and chips. I went back the same night, just because you could, right?
Yeah.
It was so much fun. Here's the thing. You always have to go back because you have to work, right? And on Monday work. And I got sick of it. I just got sick. I just want to keep on traveling, keep on having fun and whatnot. So I decided, you know what? I'll go back to the United States, take that corporate job. They paid me a lot of money. And so I decided to work for as long as I could, save the money, invest in something, and then live my life forever, right? Travel forever and whatnot. Corporate sucks. It was horrible. It was extremely draining. I was depressed. It lasted 6 months. Here's the funny thing. I quit before I did anything else. Before I started the company, before I do anything else, I just quit first. I couldn't handle it anymore. That caused two things. Well, that was one big thing. You were forced something right now, and there was no turning back. So you had to step up or it is doom. So that caused me to really make it. When you have a job, when you have next month I get my paycheck anyway, so it's okay. When that choice goes away, trust me, you will step up. So I did my SEO, I did my website, I didn't sleep, I didn't eat, I didn't stop working, and within 3 months, between 3 and 4 months, I ranked number 1 on Google. That's where things become very interesting. Suddenly, all the leads came flowing in, lots of deals, lots of contracts signed, and that catapulted me into the position I'm in right now. So the point here is, if you eliminate all your distractions, if you keep your goal in mind, don't do it the way I did it. Don't wait till you're forced to do it. But if you can simulate that mindset that you have no choice, you have to do this, chances are you'll make it big. You just have to get that mindset going. And lucky for me, I guess, I had no choice. I simply had no choice. And that is the turning point in my life where I quit my job, and to get money coming in and to survive, I had to do something else. So that changed everything for me.
Yeah, no, that's really powerful. And you are so right. You have to cut the cord, and you just have to cut it and go off on your own.
Yeah. Yeah,
for sure. No, that's a really great story. So Jerryll, if somebody's looking to get in touch with you, or maybe they have a house to sell or something like that, where can they find you?
Well, I'm all over the internet.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, my website is Wiba Houses in Connecticut, all spelled out. So Wiba House in CONN whatnot. And they can get in touch with me there. I have 2 blogs going also. It's one of the Mighty Investor, where I teach my SEO methods. I'm not stingy. I will share whatever I can share. And just my email address, Jerryll@WibaHouseInConnecticut.com. Just contact me. I'm very friendly. I will help whenever I can help.
That's perfect. Well, I just want to say thanks so much for taking the time. I really enjoyed our chat. It was really interesting.
Thank you very much, Seth.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. And to you, our viewers, I wish you well in your journey from purchase to profits. See you next time.